But to be honest, today I've been very, very much surprised by Nsembi and Ipa today, especially on Twitter, and especially in the context of who is better, whether Pedri and Asa Branti or Yefreno Vitinha. I can understand this is an opinionated issue. Obia will have their opinions. Ebi Mojin say Pedri Gonzalez, Ebi Mojin say Branti Yefreno Vitinha, and I think that both players, they exceptionally two of the best players that you can get in terms of tempo controlling. But this is the problem I have with modern football. People always analyze certain things with respect to results, and then the closeness to its recency. That's how people usually look at things like that, and people don't give credit to teams who have not particularly won or haven't shown so much, haven't shown anything tangible of winning. Something that's very, very important over there. Because I mean, if you look at Pedri, now Shabrata and Vitinha, both players that are very good in terms of the first phase of ball control, tempo control, recycling of play. What's the other word again? I mean, all of the other buzzwords that describe a player that holds on to the ball, takes pressure off the team, calms down the play. You know, these two players like that. But I don't know, maybe I've not seen, and I'll be happy if somebody shows me statistics and data or probably videos to back that. But for me, Pedri does the first phase thing with image board. See, hi Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. Won't subscribe to the channel now. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notification. In the notification turn and make sure do choose all. Send me anytime there's content here. We're first person. I want to content to be in a BBVR and you come power because I had the amount of best content, and of course, OG content. And so now we sound so enjoy the best codes because it was a big boom, 10 straight odds, of course. When we are very certain saying I mean by the time at 9 p.m. then there are some very, very good codes. So as also boom in the Europa League and the UEFA Conference League in 7 I was on Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. Let me say a big thank you to my people. First off, yes, most spare parts dealership shop, and then of course the best place for selling of spare parts I will come and say see Accra. Post office side and I just reach out to them, just call them. Friends is here or those spare parts. Maybe I will Kruma say yes, will send your spare parts to your friend on 059 313 8221 059 313 8221. And Tadian I'll pay. You want to look clean up, so look good up, so look solid there. Then it's my man MOB Clothing. MOB Clothing. Say entire party. Charlie, MOB Clothing. MOB Clothing will to do a flower station or to do in Tadibia or Pebia friend on 0200 668 708 0200 668 708 for MOB Clothing this year, and let him take very, very good care of you now on your mano and my bedroom and BB and your come FM. See, I think that after say Chelsea a boy against Benfica now, there is a new breath of hope, and I think that was exactly what Enzo Maresca wanted in Chelsea's bid to revive the season. And Makani several times said, in the modern game, nobody cares about anything nice football worth of view if result is not accompanied by it. Until we game, Nasa 4-2-3-1 and all of those things that they be kind of, and there isn't results attached to it. Nobody cares about it. You look at the game at Chelsea and Benfica and realize that Enzo Maresca has made some very, very important tweaks and changes to the system of the ball against him, my friend in Benfica. In fact, I've said several times that most of the times teams have found out a good shape of pressing Enzo Maresca midfield too, because now they be make Chelsea build with a 3-2 into two centre backs and back the wide centre back and back outside back when you have the CCB, left center back, right center back, and a CCB. Then when you have one DM with one inverted fullback with if you want to control the game. But what Enzo Maresca seems to have done in recent times is that, especially from the game against Brentford, Enzo Maresca has gone into the game having what he calls the extra midfielder. It's now the base has changed as a lopsided one. Instead of a 3-2, it has become a 2-3. Where there are two centre backs, and in the last time it was a brand friend of Benoit and a brand your friend of Trevor Chalobah and they did the lines and were them. And then of course in the middle of the pack, the two full backs in try to invert into the middle of the pack, and your full inversion. But anytime Chelsea were building up, they tried to come a little bit inside. Especially Chelsea wanted more bodies to force what we call the central progression. One, it did two things to them. It forced the opponents not to press more on field for them, leaving possible spaces in the outsides for the half space reception. Into Sawasha, in the game that Chelsea played against Brighton and Hove Albion, Chelsea were able to find most of our players in the half space. In the game against Benfica, it was seen Chelsea were able to see most of their players in the half space, and that's why Abrante's friend Facundo Buonanotte was very, very mobile and involved in the game against Benfica, especially in the first half, because the shape helped him and helped find him in almost every central area. And Enzo Maresca used Enzo Fernandez as the left-sided, lopsided progressor of the ball. And I've said it several times, it is the best trait of Abrante friend Enzo Fernandez when you're able to get him to progress the ball from the left-hand side, because when he drops, he's more like a connector. No back on the no split passes, no, and then find the players in the house space. It's something that Abrante, your friend Enzo Fernandez does it all. And it looks as if things are going. One of the things what was very, very important when Chelsea played against Benfica was the role of Abrante friend Benoit. And to be very honest, it looks as if Benoit is now the new breath of fresh air for Chelsea Football Club. Now, breath of fresh air in the sense that today, if Chelsea wants a natural left-footed centre-back they can get, so in the last couple of days and then weeks since the injury of Abrante friend Levi Cole, Chelsea had lacked that extra central centre-back or the left-hand channeler who control ball now, ball passes, control the game, especially helping in ball progression. And if you watch Benoit Bediashile, I think that you will be able to conclude, you say, there are certain parts of his passing that's probably become better. I don't know if he trained on that when he was injured, but then the pulses went to hold on to the pass a few more seconds before he goes, and the passes look a little bit crisp. And when I spoke about him on Twitter, a lot of Chelsea fans kept on telling me, he said, Benoit Bediashile and try say on the defensive side, they become on for the physicality, no many duels, no matter in your game, because at the end of the day, he is a defender more before any other thing. He being a centre back, the primary job is to deal with duels, is to protect his goal, is to be a good defender. So if he is not as physical as he wants to be in his duels, if it's not firm, if he's not dominant in how he wants to play his football, it is really, really going to affect him and the team. And that is something that Benoit Bediashile should be able to change in that regard, which is very important. And I think that I agree to a very large extent. He has given Chelsea that breath of fresh air. He has given Chelsea that sense of there is somebody that can step up and play the kind of football that we want to play, especially for Enzo Maresca, because Makani several times say Enzo Maresca centre backs are centre backs that are comfortable playing off from the back. Where a centre back now, one only the pace to defend in the high line, and also when you're comfortable playing from the back up, it affects whether you'll be able to play under Maresca. And I say you'll not be able to play about him. And you can see a lot of the tactical changes for Chelsea changing from a 3-2-5 to a 2-3-5. For me, was very, very important in terms of how they were going to set up and play, how they were going to have a different shape, how they were going to go into the game, the understanding of the specific rules, and again, helping them to set the specific press triggers that they had to set. Because, like I said, if you have three players, I know one of those annotations that there are two screens. So now, in the middle of the park, Chelsea had Abrante friend Malo Gusto Central, had Reece James, Abrante friend Moises Caicedo also in the middle of the park, and had Abrante your friend Marc Cucurella. And that was stopped because, if you can see, he has essentially attracted 5 Benfica players to them, and he has left an extra space for Facundo Buonanotte as a right-sided 10, and then Abrante friend Enzo Fernandez as a left-sided 10. And Chelsea were confident because over pressure, you have to press 3 men in the middle of the park. If you are, even if although in this one, Pavled is at the body orientation, air press or blocking the passing lane of Abrante friend Moises Caicedo, still there is extra and enough space if Bediashile wants to pick Abrante friend Facundo Buonanotte, or he wants to go high and wide to Abrante friend Pedro Neto. It's very, very important. And I think that was one of the smartest things that Enzo Maresca was giving him. It's good that Maresca is beginning to change Ninsano Kakra. I think that one of the best things also are Mihuye in the game against Tima, your friend of Benfica. Was the perfect press and counter press from Enzo Maresca in the Managerial. I think that Maresca and Managerial press and counter press very, very well. Winning of the ball, lose ball now. How could they be able to go in and go and press? It looks as if almost every time now Branty Efeno, Marco Correa was a press trigger who constantly led it to go and press, counter press, win the ball back, turn the possession into it, and then make it very, very important for Chelsea for to be able to have loads of time on the ball, control the ball, and then be in it as long as they have to be. It was one of the best things that I saw in the game from Abrantia Fen and Enzo Maresca. But essentially, the rest of the season will be dependent on Abrantia Fen Benoit. He's going to be very important for a lot of the things that Chelsea does on the ball, off the ball, the physicality. There has been one other player that I've also spoken about, say, from now to the end of the season, Chelsea would depend on him, Abrantia Fen Romeo Lavia. And I've said it several times, a lot of the teams were very comfortable in pressing Romeo because they know that Chelsea do not have a comfortable first phase progressor. Almost said then you'll be or the Pedri job or the Frankie de Jong job where you'll be what's ball under pressure and then plays forward. They didn't have that kind of person. And now in a branch your friend Romeo Lavia being back now, it affords Chelsea the ability to play in the first phase player. And again, I think that Abrantia Fen Enzo Fernandez did not get a lot of credit when he played against Team Friend Benfica because he did such an excellent job in that regard. I mean, to be able to, go into duels, run the show up and down. Otini Kokonenim Eko Boatino up top in terms of chance creation, help in terms of attacking the box, then comes back to come and play the double pivot with Abrantia Fen Enzo, Abrantia Fen Moises Caicedo. And for me, that is something very, very huge from Abrantia, your friend Enzo, Enzo Fernandez in that regard. And it's good that Chelsea have that for me. And then VAR want to release the audio recording of the incident that led to Brentford from scoring that equalizer in the 90 plus minute. The last time Chelsea were there at the GTEC Community Stadium, El Horneman. It is very, very interesting, and I think that Chelsea essentially were by large robbed. So Rebecca in Sabon, Brentford funny can show my first goal through a branch of friend Shadi, and then your bar second half no Cole Palmer Bemu ever bet say Kanemani 2-1, and then late hour in the game, 80 something minutes na branch of friend Moises Caicedo a goal money 2-1. I mean, at that point in time, Chelsea players and fans alike essentially felt that they had won the game because by the time Moises Caicedo shea goal, that was essentially it. Then a last minute throw in came in. After the game, all of us came back and said, there was something wrong with the VAR decision when it comes to ball call down. I mean, ball Brentford for the share. Now, can you imagine, say, Stuart Outwall or no, the referee in the middle of the park, before say ball ever call box, Stuart Atwell catcher and the linesman, they say he should keep the flag down. Or catcher and they say even if an offside company, he should keep his flag down. A man flag it. And I think that at this point in time, this is where it would have prompted the VAR people to really make good use of VAR because Uti near course and Stuart Atwell just before VAR came in, a catcher and the linesman is on the flag and to form, and this is how ensued. Referee tells assistant referee to keep the flag down, and no share image now is there. Keep the on-field decision as a goal. That is exactly what Abrantia, your friend Stuart Atwell, not all catcher, the referee, the VAR, the assistant referee, no catcher, and say, Charlie. On funny, and to form. Na enya VAR. He doesn't think that it's an offside or now. They went on with it. When they went on with it, no, they realized say Abrantia friend Stuart Outwall was actually wrong in terms of the VAR conversations and the things that have gone on with them. It was something that was wrong when it comes to Abrantia friend Stuart Outwall and his saying. So essentially, it looked as if Chelsea were robbed on the night when they had thought that they had won the game. VAR check complete after believing that there was no offense. But then, I mean, everybody knows how to sort of. Why can't Chelsea see or complain about these referees? Was Liverpool would have done that from that alone. It feels like the linesman was more inclined to be given an offside. Of course, that's exactly what the linesman wanted to do. He wanted to give an offside, but Stuart Outward catcher and said, on funny flag on infant to form, and then that he could not go on and then give him the offside winner or him. And I think that really affected the game. That essentially is what affected the game, in that regard. But for that, maybe Chelsea would have won the game by 2-1, and that was a very, very huge one. When it comes to Chelsea Football Club. And now, Champions League big game went on. Barcelona versus a team of your friend of Paris Saint-Germain. And Charlie, that was very, very interesting. Very interesting in the sense that before we went into the game, like I said, now Barca have called for the game. They had spoken about the conversation of playing Team My Friend in Paris Saint-Germain, and they believing that they are a better team than Team My Friend in Paris Saint-Germain, and they wanted that game. They wanted to have the game. They went into it to try to push the game, try to, get into the conversation in and around the game. But then it was difficult for them. Paris Saint-Germain dominated. So my opening conversation was about the importance of Abrantia, your friend Vitinha, on how a lot of fans see him, how a lot of people think Vitinha is not better than Abrantia friend Pedro Gonzalez. I had said, I think Abrantia friend Pedro Gonzalez is better than Vitinha in how they play their football. But lots of people have said that that is not the case. They think Abrantia friend Vitinha is better than Abrantia friend Pedro Gonzalez. That is okay. People are always going to have their opinion, but I've said it. My reason is because I have seen Pedro Gonzalez do the things that he does. First phase, second phase, third phase, whatever phase, final third, whatever. I've seen Pedro Gonzalez do the things that he does over there several times. But then it's difficult for you to see. It's difficult for you to see that's in Abrantia friend Vitinha, especially for that very long time. It's about the consistency of the job of what Pedro Gonzalez had done, and in terms of what Abrantia friend Vitinha will be able to do, in terms of how good they can be on the ball and off the ball and stuff like that. But then again, you have to give Abrantia friend Vitinha, also his credits for how good of a player he is. But then for me, in that area, it is more of Abrantia friend Pedro Gonzalez, and then how good he is in terms of the quality of play, how he dictates the paces of games and all of those things. It's very, very important to get that for Abrantia, your friend Vitinha, in that regard. And of course, Barcelona, after losing that game, have been hit by almost everything that's going on. Of course, this weekend there's going to be a big one. Chelsea are playing against Liverpool on Saturday, and then of course, you look at the number of games that are left for the conversation to go on. Chelsea playing against Liverpool. It's going to be a huge game if Chelsea is able to get results against Team My Friend Liverpool. Chelsea manages to get any form of a good result. If they get a win, any form of a win, no matter how difficult it will be, no matter how tight it will be, it's going to be very, very huge for Team My Friend Chelsea Football Club if they're able to get the win. Of course, Flick is a user, Xavi is a maker, and Xavi, Pedro kept on improving. Pedro kept on improving as a player, as did Gavi, Femin, Arao, Kobasi, Rafinha. Flick took a team crisis from nothing to one of the most dynamic, free-flowing sides in Europe with practically no financial backing and an injury crisis early in the first half this season. But he's a user. Football Twitter isn't unreal, of course. For me, I think that's the kind of job that Hansi Flick has done. Has been one of the best that you see. Of course, this is all losses does to teams. When a team loses, fans begin to, turn on the managers and say things they are not supposed to say. Like I always say, football Twitter is truly unreal. Nobody cares about anybody's opinion. It's about whether you won or you've lost. Nothing else matters again. Football Twitter. But of course, after the game, Barcelona have spoken. Flick is present at October 1st event in Barcelona tonight. Fan base is so hyperbolic after a loss when it comes to the games that Madrid have been able to play. Ronald Araujo's brought on Instagram after many Barca fans blame Araujo last season. Who are you going to blame now? Of course, talking about saying Ronald Araujo Bobby this time. So who are Barca fans going to blame? That is very needless from Ronald Araujo and then Hansi Flick's biggest frustration at Barca remains the same, managing the final minutes. And a lot of Barca fans can think that the game came down to that. At the end of the day, Barca tried to control the game. They played well. They dictated the pace of the game. By the end of the day, almost everything came down to the final minute, the final few minutes on. Barcelona closing in on a verbal agreement of a contract extension with Hansi Dieter Flick, with Frankie de Jong. It's very, very important when it comes to the games that are going to go on. But then Barca have lost it against team and friend Paris Saint-Germain. And of course, Paris Saint-Germain have gone in with an important win to go forward and then get things right when it comes to the games that they're able to play. Of course, Barca would want to bounce back. It's not going to be easy. It's the Champions League, but definitely they would want to bounce back and then make sure they begin to get the results that they are looking for. When it comes down on his final ball, then it's a wrap. He's going to be so special. I think it's very important. If you look at Estevao Willian, for me, that's something I've also said, that one of the things that Barca needs to do, the quality of play, in terms of how good Estevao Willian is. Essentially, the only problem is about the final ball of Abrante and Estevao Willian, how he is able to go into it and finally calm down in the final ball. The last game he did same, so very, very important. And Chelsea, 2 players have been sit out on Brazil for national team call, and that's Joao Pedro and Andre Santos have been left out of Brazil's latest squad, which could be seen as a boost for Chelsea, because obviously Chelsea get 2 major boosts on them when it comes to players among Brazil. I mean, World Cup qualifying conversations, because these are 2 players who share them form Andre Santos, Enzo Maresca reported said the who share them fan when you have some injury issues be and then of course now with Abrantia, the friend is Joao Pedro has been good. Joao Pedro and Moises Caicedo both trained today for Chelsea Football Club over there. I mean, I think that a lot of people also spoke about Brantia, your friend Jimmy Bino Gittins, and I think also that Gittins will come good. A lot of people should calm down in terms of what Gittins will be able to give to them. Manchester United, 2 players, Brantia, your friend Rasmus Højlund, and of course all of their players this week our Champions League, almost see form. Something that under Ruben Amorim it couldn't be done, but Rasmus Højlund is scoring, and almost everybody, our Manchester United team, everybody is beginning to score and show themselves. If Lavia starts against Liverpool, we beat them. I pray he's ready. We have missed him. Listen, I rate Caicedo, but Lavia is far better. First face, number 6. Or Caicedo is a better box-to-box in central midfielder. I fits Lavia as a 6 is different class. While Esugo is more Caicedo than Lavia, I hope that we at least trust and develop Santos for the role. If Santos is seen as an Enzo backup, then we should look at someone like Watson in future for Lavia's role, because Lavia isn't reliable fitness-wise, and Maresca needs his profile badly for his football. I think it's very important. Maresca needs to find a way to get somebody that plays in the Romeo Lavia role for his football. It's something that's very, very important when it comes to how Enzo Maresca plays his football. It's very important as to something that Enzo Maresca has to find out and get, just so he'll be able to play his football. I mean, in that regard, we'll see if Enzo Maresca will be able to, get that profile that he's been looking for. Top best 5 goals per game ratio: Erling Haaland, Lionel Messi, Robert Lewandowski, Ruud van Nistelrooy, and our bench friend Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, 2 players are on a goal per game ratio, and as a goal per minute ratio, are very, very important in terms of the latest statistics about Bunting. It's very huge when you talk about such players in terms of what they give to their teams, a quality of play, how important when they come into games and matches and stuff like that. It's very, very important when you talk about such players. On the part of football club, Real Madrid, a good win, Champions League 2 out of 2. After they lost to the Madrid derby, they would have to get back and then start again in terms of winning ways and get back to it. And they went away to Almaty, or Champions League conversation, and they went on to go and get a job done. Odds to win the UEFA Champions League according to Opta Supercomputer on Madrid for Real Barcelona. I mean, they have a lot of odds, 4.94 odds to win it when it comes to the Opta Supercomputer. Mbappe is Champions League Player of the Week. Of course, I think that he deserves it. Scoring that hat-trick, he was very, very instrumental to the things that football club Real Madrid were able to do in some match. And Xabi Alonso knows that Kylian Mbappe is going to be one of the most important players in his team. And then Madrid did return to training with the likes of Vinny Jr., Arda Güler, Everybody was in that team, very, very important. Of course, talk about all of the players that have come in. News sources to close to Federico Valverde saying they are surprised about the controversy against Almaty. It was planned that he would be rested, and he did not refuse to warm up. Of course, if you look at Federico Valverde, sources describe Federico Valverde as a shy person, but also one of the key leaders of the team. Very, very laid back as a person. Brazil, for coach Carlo Ancelotti, Militao injured. Of course, I spoke to Adam Militao. He's fine, doing well, and I wanted him here with everyone. That is exactly what Carlo Ancelotti is saying. Say he can get with the players. When you look at the players, Carlo Ancelotti, for the international break and the things that of course in terms of their next set of games, of course, Carlo Ancelotti, very experienced centre back in that regard. I'm coming in with a lot of experience, and they believe that he's going to be very, very important to Tima, your friend, Brazil. I believe he's a very important member with Maresca, and something I have to remind myself. Maresca has similarities to Slot with how they view the game, not as control obsessed, but I think this tactical fundamentals are a bit tighter for me. After spending all that time with Pep, I think that showed whenever we've played against Liverpool in both of our games. I think that Maresca is an important manager. I think Maresca is going to be one of the best managers in the world, actually. I think that it's only a matter of time that people begin to see how important Abrante friend Enzo Maresca as a coach. For me, I mean, his ideas are there for anybody to see. If anybody that just wants to take their time and open their eyes, they see the quality of Enzo Maresca as a coach, what he has for them. There's breaking news on Manchester United that Abrante friend Ruben Amorim elusive to Sunderland that it is going to be the end of the road for him. Apparently, if Ruben Amorim loses to Sunderland, then it's the end of the road for him. It's not going to be a Manchester United coach again. I think that is long overdue. I think that they have to let him go. The Arsenal next round of fixtures, we've spoken about Arsenal's possibility of winning the league and how difficult it has been for them. One of the things that's been coming is the next set of London derbies, and Arsenal have lost the league in recent times with some string of London derby losses. On the 4th of October, this weekend, I'm over against Nuno Espirito Santos, West Ham United. He doesn't have the profile to worry this Arsenal team. I think Arsenal win that one. Then they go away to go and play against Marco Silva's Fulham. Tough one. And then later on, they go on to go and play against team of friend Crystal Palace, led by Oliver Glasner. How many points will Arsenal be getting from SAG games now, especially in the London derbies? We'll see exactly how that is going to be. May Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube, guys. So, won't subscribe to the channel now. Subscribe. Turn on notification. In the notification, turn on the Michelle. Do choose all, just so anytime that there is content here, you are first to have it. You are the best in terms of analysis. Subscribe and enjoy all the analysis. Until then, bye-bye.